So we're going to take a quick moment and talk about HD camcorders, kind of explaining the basics of them and how to get the most out of them. Most HD camcorders on the market they're getting pretty similar. This one, shoots to hard drive and to card media. Both are fine formats. If you don't have one already, I always recommend looking for one that says full HD. That means you're getting the most resolution you pretty much can on the market right now. It's nice to have one that, like I said, shoots in full HD, but also has things like intelligent auto or some sort of auto mode. But the basic features are all pretty much the same. They all have the image stabilization and, the sort of the zoom, and some of them even take photos. Now with zoom, I always recommend staying wide, as wide as possible, especially when you're handheld. Just stay wide, and I would tape this down if I could. That way, you really maximize the stability of the shot. Even with these image stabilizers, the wider you are, the more stable the shot will be. If you need to get in close, move the camera. I always recommend just moving the camera. Don't be afraid to move the camera to where you need it to be. If you need to go wide, move the camera back. That being said, this one has a nice viewfinder. You're going to see most of them will have a, about 2.5, 3-inch viewfinder, pretty standard at this point. This one also has an electronic eyepiece viewfinder, which is nice when it's really sunny out. You can get your eye right in there and get a nice shot. But don't worry, if you only have the viewfinder, you can get one of these little hoods, and that way you can keep the sun out. They're nice to have, fairly inexpensive. Okay. When you're looking for these cameras, if you don't have one already, shoe mount adapter is nice to have, which is under this hatch. It's this type of thing that allows you to add accessories. It's pretty common in both still and camcorders these days. That you can add a light. That way you can sort of brighten up a dark area, or a microphone. You can add an extra microphone. These tend to enhance the audio abilities. The microphones these are okay. They're pretty good. You get surround sound, which is great for crowds. If you want to shoot an interview or you want to shoot something that's very directional, I always recommend getting another microphone, because you can get much better directional microphones sort of aftermarket. Basic things you want to do is take the time to compose your shot. People tend to take more time composing still photography than video, and they forget that video is pretty much just stills in motion. So you want to take time to sort of compose your shot and get everything in frame and make sure it kind of looks pleasing to the eye. And try and cradle the camera. There's a couple ways to do that. You can put your hand in here and get your basic cradle, but this is not that stable. So I usually recommend doing a second hand underneath, sort of cradling it. Sometimes even if you want to get a low shot, putting both your hands underneath it to get the camera in close. And don't be afraid to get the camera in close. If you want to get detail, you want to sort of fill the frame. If you're shooting food, it always looks great when you fill the frame. If someone's cooking an omelet, get in there and really look at it. If someone's explaining something, stay on them, let them explain it, and then do what's known as a sort of a cutaway or B-roll. Then stop the camera, shoot what they're talking about. So if they're describing a feature or a function or something, take them talking. Take the activity, get right in there on their hands doing the activity and capture it. Okay, when you're taking your shots, most people, they have the habit of just shooting everything, and they move around and follow the subject. You have to kind of get used to, it's okay for things to come in and come out of the frame. So that being like my hand comes into the frame, then it goes out of the frame. It's okay for things to come in and come out. So don't feel like you have to follow everything wherever it goes. That just makes that sort of shaky cam that no one can watch and makes you kind of get a little queasy when you're watching it. So take a few seconds of a shot, move to the next thing, take a few seconds. Getting yourselves lots of different shots is always more interesting than just setting up the camera and letting it run the entire time that you're recording. Other features on these, you have pre-record, which is really good for sort of catching sporting events. And when you have that on, it's usually catching anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds of activity. So when you hit record, it actually has grabbed 3 to 6 seconds before you hit record, because it was constantly doing a little record loop. Great for catching, lightning strikes, any kind of events, any sporting pieces when you're whale watching, if a whale breaches, it's always great for those type of things where you don't know when the exact moment it's going to happen is. This one actually does have a focus ring. Some of them may or may not have the ability to do manual focus. This one has auto and manual focus, which is nice to have that so you can determine what you want to focus on. Usually you'll leave that in auto and just sort of, capture your content as you want. This one also has the ability to have headphones out, which is nice to have if you're in an environment when you make sure you want to get the sound. You can put headphones on and just plug them in directly. I recommend getting a second battery. That way you can double up your battery life. Usually your recording time is much longer than the battery power time. Well, I mean, that's pretty much most of the major features that are on these cameras. There's a few more detailed ones, things like scene mode, which are really good. Once you get used to those, you can kind of do portraits, so it'll focus mainly on the face and leave the rest of the background sort of, out of focus, which means that the people are going to really focus their attention on the person. You have, nighttime shooting, starry sky. They have sort of the same scene modes if you're used to it in your still camera. Once again, most of these cameras have a lot of good features. Things to look out for would be full HD, recording onto either hard drive or SD card type of media. Auto intelligent mode's really nice to have. Other than that, pretty much all of them really good to have. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them to questions@whatinthehd. Other than that, we're going to go through a bunch of these other cameras and more features moving forward. So keep shooting and have fun.